All right, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. It's back to our book, The New World Order: Situation, Ethics, and Attack on Religion, chapter 27 and 28. If we are gods, we can develop our own truth. But if humanism succeeds and religion is removed from the American lifestyle, the Christian style of morality will be done away with as well. That means that the Illuminists must have a moral view to offer in its place. And they do. It's called situation ethics. The dictionary defines situation ethics as a system of ethics according to which moral rules are not absolutely binding but may be modified in the light of a specific situation. The humanists have declared their support of this concept. They have concluded it in their Humanist Manifesto. Third, we affirm that moral values derive their own source from the human experience. Ethics is autonomous and situational. Douglas Grothus, author of Unmasking the New Age, he wrote, once you defied yourself, made yourself into a god, which is what the New Age is all about. There is no higher moral absolute. It's a recipe for ethical anarchy. In essence, the New Agers are saying all moral values are situational. The situation determines what's right or wrong, and since situations constantly change, what's right today may be wrong tomorrow. The New Age movement, the humanist religions, and the communists have made a God out of man. They have defied mankind. The new morality for a man God is whatever he decides it is. And that is what the New Age humanist communists have done. Their new morality is called situation ethics. Dr. Arthur Gravett, MD, he said moral behavior may differ from situation to situation. Behavior might be moral for one person and not another. Whether an act is moral or immoral is determined by the law of love. That is the extent of which love and concern for others is a factor in the relationship. But it was another who coined the phrase situation ethics. That honor belongs to Joseph Fletcher, who first used the word in a speech for Harvard alumni in 1964. He was a professor at Cambridge Episcopal Theological Seminary. He said, for me, there are no rules. Wow. And you teaching at a seminary? There are no rules, none at all. Anything and everything is right or wrong according to the situation. What is wrong in some cases is right in others. A situationalist would disavow absolute except the one absolute, always to act with loving concern. By this definition, mass murderers would not be in error if they professed that their acts were based on love for humanity. Wow, that's deep. And that they have committed their murders with a loving concern. If, for example, one of these murderers killed people in an area polluted with radioactive waste and said that these acts were being committed because of the murderer did not want them to be affected by pollution and that he loved them, the act would be acceptable according to those who believe in situation ethics. This morality, known as situation ethics, is the underlying philosophy of the communist socialists who murder a percentage of nation's population in a quest for their goal of communism or socialism. The advocates of these isms claim that their goal is so desirable that those who they murder must give way for the good of all humanity. The corollary of the position is the end justifies the means. Facts. The communists of Russia murdered up to 42 million people in the Communist Revolution of 1917 because the communist society was deemed to be worth all the carnage by the murderers. It is certain that Adolf Hitler felt that his murders of more than 50 million people during World War II were not wrong because the Third Reich that would result after the war was over would be worth it. Chu Enlai and Mao Tai-sung murdered as many as 64 million people in the Communist Revolution that started in 1923 and ended in 1949, and no one knew that they felt that the price of the dead people had to pay for the rest of the Chinese was worth the end result. It would be remembered that Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, wrote that the ends justify the means. Weishaupt wrote further that no man for our order who not ready to go to every length. Only one with no moral values, in other words, one who believed in the situation ethics would be willing to go to every length. John Robertson, the exposer of the Illuminati, wrote, nothing was so frequently discoursed of as the priority of employing for the good purpose the means which the wicked employed for the evil purposes, and it was taught that the preponderancy of good in the ultimate result consecrated every mean employed. Shirley MacLaine said, there is no such thing as evil. Evil is fear and uncertainty. Evil is what you think it is. The business of evil and Satan was a ridiculous concept to me. And the Masons also believed in situation ethics. Mason R. L. Hayward wrote in the book Great Teachings of Masonry, human experience is the one final authority in morals. Wrong is whatever hurts human life or destroys human happiness. Acts are not right or wrong intrinsically, but according to the effects are hurtful or helpful. And he repeated the thought in another, in the meaning of Mason. What is good for one may be evil for you. What is right to do at one moment may be wrong for the next. Apple Pike said in Morals and Dogma, all truths are truths of period and not truths for eternity. Mr. Pike held that there were no absolutes. All truths were only for the period. That view was called situation ethics. Mr. Pike called his book Morals and Dogma. Situation ethics is a particular view of morality. Judging from Mr. Pike's comments, it would be far to conclude that this was one moral view of the book. Mr. Pike was introducing every Mason who read that book. The Masonic religion believed in situation ethics. Fellow Mason Manly P. Hall said, it has always been a serious question to me whether Jesus ever actually spoke the words, if ye love me, keep my commandments, for the statement is clearly out of accord with both divine and human reason. Jesus taught his followers that they were to obey his commandments. These commandments were called the moral absolute. Mr. Hall was saying that Jesus never taught that, and that human reason would not accept that principle. Human reason has concluded that keeping a divine commandment is not reasonable. Wow. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his book The Genealogy of Morals, sought to make a revolution of all values, wrote that so called evil was good, and what was habitually believed to be good was evil. The communists are also taught that there are no absolutes in life. Nikolai Lenin, the Russian communist, in his revolution in 1917, murdered, as well as been discussed before, nearly 42 million people to achieve the goal of communism for the Russian people. He wrote, communism is power based upon force and not limited to nothing, by no kind of law and by absolutely no set rule. The dictatorship of the proletariat is nothing else than power based upon force and limited by nothing, by no kind of law, and by absolutely no rule. We must combat religion. This is the ABC of all materialism and consequently of Marxism. Down with religion, long live atheism. The spread of atheism is our chief task. Communism abolishes eternal truths. It abolishes all religion and morality. Lenin showed that he was thinking was just as illogical as exhibited by John Dewey. He stated that communism abolished eternal truth. That is impossible. The word eternal is defined as being one of infinite duration or perpetual. The word eternal is defined as being of infinite duration or perpetual. That which is eternal has no end. Fact. It will continue to exist throughout all the time. Lenin admitted that in his view these truths were eternal, yet he admitted that communism would abolish these eternal truths. That which is eternal cannot be abolished unless your thinking is as convoluted as Nikolai Lenin. Lenin was just as insane as John Dewey. He continued with other similar thoughts. We, of course, say that we do not believe in God. We do not believe in eternal morality. We repudiate all morality that is taken outside of human class concepts. We say that our morality is entirely subordinated to the interests of the class struggle. Communism must regard themselves as free, indeed morally obligated to violate the truthfulness, respect for life, when it is absolutely clear that a great deal more harm to communist objectives would be done by adhering to such principles than by violating them. That is moral. That serves the destruction of the old society. We must repudiate all morality which proceeds from supernatural ideas or ideals which are outside of class conceptions. Everything is moral which is necessary for the annihilation of old exploiting social order and for uniting the proletariat. In what sense do we repudiate ethics and morality? In the sense that they were preached by the bourgeoisie, who declared that these were God's commandments. Frederick Engels wrote, leaving aside the problem of morality, for a revolutionist, any means are right which lead to the purpose the violent as the seemingly tame. Nikolai Dostoevsky, the Russian novelist, he wrote, if there is no God, everything is permitted. Well, that's a fact. If there is no God, everything is permitted. What happens to the individual's mind after he accepts the philosophy of situation ethics can be best illustrated by studying the writings of Sergei Nietzsche, the Russian revolutionary. The young man had enormous influence on the outcome of the Russian Bolshevik Communist Revolution of 1917. And he said, our cause is terrible, complete, universal, and pitiless destruction. Let us unite with the savage, criminal world, these true and only revolutionary of Russia. Only a believer in situation ethics could ever say such a thing. There are no moral absolutes when complete destruction is your goal. Facts. And that was the goal of the revolutionary. The revolutionary is a doomed man. He has no personal interest, no business affairs, no emotions, no attachments, no property, and no name. Everything in him is wholly absorbed in the single thought and the single passion for revolution. The revolutionary knows he has broken all bonds which tie him to the social order and the civilized world, which has laws, moralities, and customs, and with its generally accepted convenience. The object is perpetually the same, the surest and quickest way of destroying the whole filthy order. The revolutionary despises and hates the existing social morality. For him, morality is everything which contributes in the triumph of the revolution. Immoral and criminal is everything that stands in his way. The revolutionary must be tyrannical towards others. All the gentle and inverting sentiments of kinship, love, friendship, gratitude, and even honor must be suppressed in him and give place to the cold and single minded passion for revolution. Do not pity, kill in public places if these base rascals dare to enter them. Kill in the houses, kill in villages. Remember, those who will not side with us will be against us. Wow. Whoever is against us is our enemy, and we must destroy enemies by all means. What this young revolutionary wrote about was the unrestricted situation ethics, where there absolutely is no right and wrong. Wow. And this is the critical code of the humanist. Situation ethics leads some into a position of hating the entire society and of wishing to destroy the whole social fabric, the old world order. Those who wish to fill the void can remake the world and the new world that will be called the New World Order. Remember that Nietzsche wrote that the revolutionary intended to destroy the whole filthy order. The goal of the revolutionary was to destroy the old world order and replace it with the new world order. That's a fact. Perhaps the major purpose of the situation ethics was made clear in the book written by Aldous Huxley, Brave New World Revisited. He identified the destruction of the individual as the primary goal of this new ethical teaching. He wrote, a new societal ethic is replacing our traditional ethical system, the system in which the individual is primary. The social whole has greater worth and significance than the individual parts, that the rights of the collective take precedence over the rights of man. But situation ethics is not new. It is old as the Bible. Isaiah the prophet was moved to write about the system in 740 BC. He wrote in Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20 21. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Situation ethics calls evil good and good evil. And it is with this philosophy of the humanists, the communists, and some of the Masons, and is rapidly becoming the morality of America. That is a fact. This book was written in the late 80s. Wow. 50 years later, look at where we are. Look at where we are 50 years later. Okay, chapter 28, Attack on Religion. The New World Order is already here. There are already people and organizations attacking the family, nationalism, the right to private property, the right to worship, and the right to practice a decent morality, among other things. One of the first areas of the old world order is to come to the attention of the destroyers was of the Christian church. And one of the first to be attacked in recent history was Pastor Everett Silicone of Louisville, Nebraska. He is the pastor of a fundamentalist church in that community, and he thought his congregation that they had scriptural obligation to teach their children themselves. And to accomplish this end, the church voted to open a Christian school in the summer of 1977. The church felt that educating the children of the congregation was a ministry of the church, just like Sunday school or preaching. And since the church felt the need to do this as part of their religion, they chose not to register their school nor license their teachers through the state of Nebraska. They also believed that the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States protected their right to freedom of religion. The First Amendment in part says Congress shall make no law respecting any establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Since government was prohibited from passing a law abridging the free exercise of their religious rights, the church felt they would not be interfered with. This church was the first in Nebraska to open a Christian school without licensing their teachers, so they were the first to be challenged by the state government of Nebraska. Later in August, the Nebraska Department of Education entered the school and told the pastor that the school was breaking state law because they had not certified their instructors. They cited rules number 14 and 21, which they were procedures for getting the school license and for licensing their faculty. The pastor explained their position, but his arguments were not listened to. Later, the sheriff came and arrested the pastor, and the case went to the county clerk. The pastor also was used as his defense Article 1, Section 4 of Nebraska State Constitution, which read, all persons have a natural and indefeasible, defined as that which cannot be undone or made void, right to worship Almighty God according to the dictates of their own conscience, nor shall any interference with the rights of conscience be permitted. Religion, morality, and knowledge, however, being essential to good government, it shall be the duty of the legislature to pass suitable laws to protect every denomination in the peaceful enjoyment of its own mode of public worship and to encourage schools and the means of introduction. The pastor testified. The primary objection of the Faith Baptist Church to accepting licensure from the state is the violation of Ephesians 1:22. The God of our Lord Jesus Christ gave him to be the head over all things of the church. And Colossians 1:18, and he Jesus is the head of the body and the church. The pastor continued to resist, and the judge rewarded their resistance with several terms in prison. Wow. Pastor Sullivan wrote an explanation as to why he refused to allow the state to control his school in his book entitled The Padlock Church. I'm going to have to get that. I'm going to have to get that. He wrote, we came to the firm conclusion unanimously that Christ could not be submitted to the authority of the state, having the state the right to determine the philosophy of the curriculum or the qualifications of the teachers. Wow. In addition, the pastor looked at the activities of the judge who ruled in his case. The judge who presided in our case admitted he did not look at the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Wow. Before deciding our case, he also admitted that he defines education as non-religious. Therefore, he defines away our religious beliefs and rights. The pastor and his members of the Faith Baptist Church continue to believe that the operation of the school to teach the children of the church members was a part of the church's ministry. The state countered with the argument that they were not qualified to determine what their children were to be taught, nor capable of determining who should teach them. Wow. And since the pastor refused to neither shut his school down nor allow the state to license his teachers, the judge ordered the sheriff to enter the church during the service, arrest the pastor and anyone else who resisted, and then padlock the church doors. The final outcome of the whole case occurred in January of 1985 when the state Supreme Court overturned the pastor's final 8-month jail conviction, and it appeared that there would be no further court action on the case. The state had used its powers without legal support, and the Christian School of Faith Baptist Church continued operating. The Christian Church, at least in Nebraska, did not have to allow the state to set the policy of the school, to determine the curriculum, nor license the teachers of their children. But the battle is not over, it has only begun. This was just one of the early skirmishes. Wow, man, that was good. The Padlock Church. Mm, that was good. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a message. Leave a comment. I'm tired. Oh, yes, 2 o'clock.